By the time the soup steam faded, the boy was still standing. Crystal glasses lined a table long enough to hold a small parade. Silverware glowed. A clock ticked somewhere high in the ribs of the mansion. But Michael, thin shoulders, neat dark hair, eyes like a storm about to break, wouldn't take the chair with his name carved into the back. He stood at the edge, plate in hand, as if he were about to leave at any second. House rule? Sophia asked softly, new to the staff, still learning faces and secrets. Butler John flicked a glance at the boy and kept his voice low. He prefers it that way. Prefer. The word didn't fit the way Michael watched the empty chair beside him. He laid a folded napkin there like a promise. Then he tapped his fork against his plate. 1, 2, 3. So quiet it could have been nerves. Or code. Evelyn swept in, perfume cold and perfect. Robert's running late, she announced. He'll eat upstairs. Sophia's eyes traced the room, portraits that never looked down, fresh lilies breathing sweetness, a glimmer of city lights beyond the glass. She noticed how the staff pretended not to see, how the boy never complained, how his plate always had a second spoon tucked beneath it. Michael, she tried again, would you like company? He didn't speak. He just touched the back of the empty chair with 2 fingers, and in the space that followed, the whole room seemed to hold its breath. A quiet, heavy pause. Why would an orphan who finally found a home refuse to sit at his own table? What unspoken rule keeps a child on his feet while the world around him dines in velvet? If you were Sophia, would you ask more questions, or keep your head down and keep your job? Michael lifted his spoon, never sat, and started to eat, standing like a guard on the edge of his own life. And that was the moment Sophia decided to find out why. Morning came wrapped in pale gold. Sophia followed John down a hallway that smelled of lemon polish and old money. You'll manage dining. Discretion first, he said. Mr. Robert is kind. Busy. Miss Evelyn is precise. Precise meant cold. Sophia understood. At lunch, the table dazzled. The city lay beyond like a map of light. Michael took his place at the far end. He didn't sit. He rested his fingertips on the back of the chair beside him, as if it were someone's shoulder. A second place setting waited there, empty, perfect, untouched. Is this extra for a guest? Sophia asked, keeping it casual. No guest, John whispered. Leave it. Evelyn's heels clicked in. Michael, posture. She didn't look at him. She looked through him. Standing again? It's odd. People talk. Sophia noticed the boy's fork. Tap, tap, tap tap. A rhythm barely there. She noticed the chair back too. Under the varnish, a tiny scratch. 2 letters, E.M. Not deep. Carefully hidden. Like a secret that wanted to breathe. Michael, Sophia said, placing warm rolls within reach. These smell like Saturday mornings, don't they? He glanced at her, surprised. Saturday, he repeated, voice small, like the word had dust on it. Then silence folded back over him. A stillness, her and the boy, the empty chair between them like a memory set at the table. Later, in the pantry, 2 housemaids whispered. If I had all that money, my kid would at least sit down, one said. Standing like that makes us look strange. Maybe he likes attention, the other muttered. Sophia kept moving, heart tight. She'd seen that stand-still posture before, in corridors where children didn't own chairs, in places where hunger meant rules, not meals. She rinsed a bowl, then, almost without thinking, knelt to check the underside of that empty chair. Her fingers found the carve again. E.M. A name? An initial? A promise? That night, after the dishes were done and the house exhaled, she returned to the dining room. Moonlight turned the linen to ice. She traced the letters and remembered Michael's fork tapping like a heartbeat. Who is E.M.? Why does a second place setting wait every meal like a door no one opens? If you heard a child speaking in rhythms instead of words, would you lean in or back away? Footsteps behind her. She turned. Michael stood in the doorway, barefoot, hair rumpled by sleep. He lifted his fork, tap, tap, tap tap, and looked at the chair. Sophia whispered, "Who are you saving this seat for?" He didn't answer. He just lifted the napkin and smoothed it like he was keeping somebody warm. Sophia slid her fingers under the chair's edge and felt, hidden in the wood seam, a torn paper scrap. On it, in a child's hand, 2 letters repeated, E-M, M, M. "Where did you learn to stand so still?" Sophia asked the next day, laying fruit like little suns along Michael's plate. Michael stared at the orange. He didn't peel it. He tapped the fork, 1, 2, 3, then pushed a second plate ever so slightly toward the empty chair. The porcelain whisper sounded like a secret sliding closer to the edge. "Michael," Evelyn said from the doorway, eyes on her phone, "your father's late again. Eat. We have photographs at 4. He didn't move. Sophia kept her voice gentle. "Is E.M. a friend?" Michael's jaw tensed. "Sister," he said. One word. Raw. The room stops, the word hangs there, bright and painful. Sophia inhaled. "Where is she?" "Not here," he said. "Not anywhere." He glanced at Evelyn, then down. "Not allowed." Evelyn looked up, irritated. "What's this about?" "Nothing, Miss Evelyn," Sophia said quickly, but her mind was racing. "Sister. E.M. sister." In the kitchen, she found John polishing silver like therapy. "Before this house, where was Michael?" she asked. John's eyes softened. "An orphanage. Hard place. Mr. Robert adopted him last year. Came with history." "History?" she pressed. "Files incomplete," he murmured. "A missing sibling." The search was complicated. Sophia thought of the second napkin, ironed and waiting. "Does Mr. Robert know Michael never sits?" "Of course," John said, "but he believes time heals quietly." Time hadn't. It had carved letters under wood. Sophia searched the storage room after lunch, the dust tasting like old paper. In a box labeled Foundation, Adoption, she found photocopies. St. Mercy Home. Twin intake lines. Michael, 6. Emma, 6. Siblings. A scrawl, separated due to capacity. Emma, transfer pending. A later note, transfer unknown. Her stomach dropped. She heard the faintest tapping. Not in the room. Beyond the wall. She followed the sound back to the dining room. Michael stood there again, fingers drumming the rhythm on the edge of his plate. "Do you tap because she used to?" Sophia asked. He glanced up like she'd opened a window. "We talked that way. Nights." He looked at the empty chair. "They took chairs away when we made noise." Sophia's throat tightened. In some places, silence is the only meal that's always served. Evelyn's voice cut in, ice over glass. "This obsession with an empty chair is not good optics. People notice. Tell him to sit, John." John's jaw flexed. "He'll sit when he's ready." "Ready?" Evelyn scoffed. "We have donors coming." The boy standing looks feral. Sophia stepped forward before she could stop herself. "It's not feral. It's grief." Evelyn's eyes hardened. "Mind your role." That evening, Sophia set the table. She tucked a tiny folded paper under Michael's spoon. 2 letters, carefully printed, E.M. She didn't say a word. Michael sees it. He freezes. A tear trembles, refusing to fall. "Emma," Sophia whispered, as if the house might steal the name. "Is that her?" Michael swallowed. "Yes." "What if we found her?" Sophia asked. "Would you sit then?" His eyes lifted. "Hope is the quietest earthquake." "If she tells me to," he said. From the hallway came footsteps, Robert at last, coat half buttoned, tie loosened, phone glowing with emails. Behind him, Sophia spotted an email subject on the screen before he locked it. Search for EM, budget concerns. And the sender? Evelyn. Robert stood tall, the kind of presence that made rooms straighten themselves. I hear we've had a spirited afternoon, he said, trying for lightness. Sophia kept her tone respectful. Sir, may I ask about Emma? Robert blinked. Emma. Michael's sister, she said. The boy looked at his father like a question mark that had been waiting for months. Robert's gaze flicked to Evelyn. She gave a brittle smile. Old paperwork. The search turned up nothing. Not a trace. Because you closed it, Sophia said before she could stop herself. She felt John's warning glance, but the truth was burning. Sir, with respect, I saw the email. Evelyn's voice went tight. Private correspondence. It said, budget concerns. Sophia pressed softly. How much does hope cost? Silence. Cutlery holds still. The chandelier hum becomes a small, nervous choir. Robert exhaled. We tried. Weeks of it. Nothing. And Michael was fragile. We needed stability. Stability without answers is just polished fear, Sophia said. He's saving a seat, Mr. Robert. For a child the world misfiled. Michael's fork tapped, once, twice, a small staccato that meant don't stop. Evelyn's patience snapped. This is disruptive. Your staff. We have to think of the Foundation's image. A boy who refuses to sit? Donors are puzzled. If he can't adapt, we will. We will support him, Robert said sharply, surprising them all. He looked at his son. Is this why you won't sit? Because of Emma. Michael nodded, one hand on the chair back like a sailor steadying against waves. I promised, he whispered. We said we'd never sit for a feast until we could sit together. So they couldn't ignore us. So they'd ask. He glanced at Sophia, as if grateful that someone finally had. Robert's face broke a little. I didn't know you made a promise. How could he tell you? Sophia asked gently. When every time he stood, people told him to stop making a scene? Evelyn's eyes cooled to steel. Enough. The search is closed for good reasons. Like? John asked, surprising himself. Waste, she said simply. We can pour millions into publicity and adoption showcases, or we can chase a ghost. Which sounds responsible? Sophia turned to Robert. Which sounds like a father? The word landed. Robert rubbed his temples. If there's even a chance, what then? I volunteer at St. Mercy on weekends, Sophia said softly. I know the staff. Let me ask quiet questions. No press. No optics. Just truth. Evelyn scoffed. This is absurd. No, Robert said, voice low and new. This is necessary. He looked at his son. Michael, help us. How did you talk to Emma when you weren't allowed to talk? Michael lifted the fork. Tap, tap, tap tap. A pattern. He closed his eyes, listening to a memory only he could hear. She taps back, he said. From anywhere. Sophia leaned in. What does this one mean? Michael answered without looking up. Sit. That night, while the house slept, a reply pinged Sophia's old volunteer group chat, an unfamiliar number linked to St. Mercy. We've been trying to reach someone about a girl named Emma. She left a message for Michael, and a pattern of taps on the underside of a cafeteria table. The sky over the city bruised into dawn as Sophia walked through St. Mercy's iron gate. She moved like she'd done it 1,000 times, because she had. The halls smelled like chalk and soap. A tired goldfish circled in a bowl that never seemed to change. Back again. Sister Evelyn, another Evelyn, kinder and older, smiled with soft eyes. Sorry about the names. We come in pairs. Always, Sophia said, grateful for kindness. I'm looking for records on Emma. About a year ago, she was separated from her twin, Michael. Sister Evelyn's face folded in on itself. Ah. They went to a small office with files stacked like fragile walls. The fan clicked as it spun. Papers whispered when they moved. The sister pulled a folder. Inside, transfer requests, half signed. A note scribbled by a social worker named Emma Hayes. The coincidence made Sophia's chest catch. Child left taps under the table. 3122. Repeats when asked about brother. 3122, Sophia repeated, fingers drumming it into the wood. Children make languages when adults don't listen, Sister Evelyn said. Sophia slid to her knees and peered under the cafeteria table. There, in the dark wood, scratching marks turned into a map. Tiny dots, grouped. She counted. 3, 1, 2, 2. Her throat tightened. What does it mean? The sister asked. SIT. Sophia breathed. It's them. It's always been them. A visiting social worker stepped in with a worn backpack. You're about the twins, she asked. I left messages. A donor stopped the inquiry months ago. Sophia knew which donor. Where is Emma? In foster care for now, the social worker said. New number. Moved last week. She handed Sophia a card with an address and, blessedly, a time. We can arrange a meeting. A careful one. Sophia texted Robert from the gate. I found a trail. Please trust me. Tonight. 7 p.m. Back at the mansion, Evelyn, the colder one, stood at the dining room like a queen guarding a chessboard. What now? She asked, arms folded. Sophia ignored the chill and set 2 glasses at Michael's end. Truth, she said. At 7. Robert came home early for the first time in weeks. He wore the look of a man who had finally realized what he feared losing. John placed a single candle on the table by the empty chair. No donors. No cameras. Michael hovered, hands trembling. Is it? Sophia nodded. We don't make promises we can't break, she said with a tiny smile. We make promises we can keep. The room turns quiet like a chapel. You can hear a heartbeat in the silver. The doorbell rang. Evelyn moved to intercept, but Robert raised a hand. I'll get it. 2 people stood there, the social worker with the kind eyes, and a girl with the same storm-colored gaze as Michael. Her hair was shorter. Her backpack was small. She held herself like someone used to standing at the edge of rooms. Emma. Michael didn't run. He didn't shout. He stepped forward and tapped the fork in his hand. 1, 2, 3, then held it out to her like a microphone. Emma smiled through a tear. She tapped back. 3122. Sit. Emma's eyes flicked to the empty chair with EM carved in the wood. She lifted the napkin, smoothed it, and looked at Michael. Together, she whispered. But first, we need to tell Dad the rest. Dad. Robert stopped breathing. Emma stood at the table's edge, small and fierce. You're Robert? She asked. I am, he said, voice hoarse. I'm your father, if you'll let me be. Emma glanced at Michael's hand, gripping the chair. We don't know you yet, she said plainly. But Michael says you kept him warm in winter. So, we'll listen. Evelyn bristled. This is not your decision, Robert said, not unkindly but finally, mercifully sure. Please give us a moment. Evelyn opened her mouth, closed it, and left like a door shutting on a different future. John lit the candle. The flame wavered, ready and new. Sophia stepped back, giving the scene to the people it belonged to. Do you want to sit? She asked quietly. Michael looked at Emma. We promised, he whispered. Not until we could sit together. Emma nodded. We promised something else too, she said. That when we found a home, we'd use our voices at the table. No more tapping in the dark. Robert's eyes shone. Then speak, he urged. Teach me your language and I'll answer in it. Emma took a breath. At St. Mercy, when we were loud, they took chairs away, she said. When we were quiet, they forgot us. So we made noise you couldn't punish, small, soft, hidden. We tapped stories into wood. Michael added, we saved a seat for anyone who was missing. It made staff ask why. It made someone care. Sophia's chest burned with a sweet ache. Isn't that what love is? A space held open until someone can come home? A hush, the family deciding what kind of sound they will make from now on. Robert faced his son. I failed you. I thought money meant safety. I forgot that listening is the first roof over a child's head. If you want, we'll reopen every search, every file, every door. Emma tilted her head. We're here now, she said. Just don't make us small. He nodded. Never again. Sophia set 2 bowls of soup in front of the twins. The steam braided upward like a blessing. She placed a 3rd bowl across from them. For later, she said. For whoever else needs a seat. Emma's hand found Michael's. Together, she whispered. Michael exhaled. He pulled the chair out. Wood side across marble. He looked at the carved letters, EM, and smiled like sunrise. Then he and his sister sat, like a promise kept, and the room shifted. It felt warmer, truer, lived in. John swallowed hard and pretended to polish a fork that didn't need it. Robert lifted his spoon, then paused. Before we eat, I have one last thing. He turned to Sophia. You fought for our family like it was your own. Will you stay, not as staff only, but as the person who keeps our table honest? Sophia's throat closed. Yes, she said. But remember, this table is not about money. It's about who gets to feel seen. Robert nodded. Then let's make room. They ate. Between spoonfuls came laughter that hadn't learned this room yet, but was eager to. Somewhere in the house, a clock kept time, but the sound felt gentle now, like a heartbeat, not a countdown. When the bowls were empty, Emma tapped the table one last time. 3122. She grinned. We can tap for joy too, she said. Not just for help. Michael laughed, and the sound landed softly on the napkin that no longer had to keep anyone warm. A final, grateful silence, broken by the clink of spoons and the feeling of home. Thought-provoking question for viewers. If you saw a child refusing to sit at a table everyone else took for granted, would you ask the uncomfortable questions, or look away? And in your own life, whose empty chair are you brave enough to keep set until they come home?